The PS5 just got an update and it's actually pretty cool. Returnal just got a huge patch, we've got some gameplay from one of this fall's biggest games, and the PS Plus games for November just leaked. So now that we've reached the end of the year and all the biggest games from Sony are out, I think the one I want to give the award for the most underrated game to is Returnal. It's Housemarque's massive third-person roguelite shooter that's honestly a lot like Deathloop, and when it came out, it got pretty good reviews, but there was one reason that people seemed to hop off of it pretty quick. Now that's because a run in Returnal from start to finish can take you around 5 or 6 hours, and it really sucked if you got all the way to the end of a run and died. And there was no way, if you wanted to stop playing other than going into rest mode with your PS5, to make sure that you'd be able to boot it back up when you got back on your console. And one big issue the game had is that even if you went into rest mode with your PS5 and stopped in a run, it would usually crash when you turn the PS5 back on, and there was really no guarantee that your progress would be saved if you turn the console off. Well, today we got Returnal's 2.0 update, and it's really an update that's going to address the biggest complaints people had with the game. So first off, you have a suspend feature built right in now, so when you're playing, you're deep in a run, you're 4 or 5 hours in and you're going to stop playing, you can hit suspend and you'll have a save state created. So the next time you come into the game, you can just start where you left off and then you're good to go. Now this is not a traditional save system. It's not like you can make multiple saves throughout a run so you can just keep picking up where you left off every time you die. This is just like a save state that only works once. So that keeps intact the whole roguelite aspect of the game, because if you could just save throughout a run and then go back to a checkpoint that you created when you died, it would be a pretty short roguelite. Like honestly, it wouldn't even be a roguelite anymore. And I'm sure that's why they've taken so long to kind of figure out how to do this correctly, because doing a save state in a third person open like big game like Returnal probably is a lot harder than it is in something like the Castlevania Advance Collection. And if you want to keep up with all the PlayStation news, make sure you subscribe and set your notifications to all. Now there are a few limitations to this. You can't suspend your gameplay during cutscenes and especially during combat. So it's going to have to be once you cleared a room, you know, like you can't just suspend your stuff right in the middle of a fight, because that would really suck, honestly. I feel like if you suspended your game in the middle of a boss fight and then went out for like 5 hours and came back and just jumped back into the game, you'd probably get pretty frustrated when that boss stomps you immediately, because you're not in the thick of it anymore. You don't really got those skills you had 5 hours ago. You're not like in the game. Interestingly, you also can't create a save state during the first person moments in the game. These are like horror sections that really reminded me of Layers of Fear, and that's where the story is primarily delivered. I'm sure there's a reason you can't create a save state during those. And I guess it's so you could just keep track of the story, right? It's gonna get confusing if you just stop playing a game in the middle of a cutscene. Now, the other big feature coming along with this 2.0 update is a full-on photo mode. Now, just like the suspend feature, you can't actually take pictures during cutscenes or during first-person moments, but the difference here is that you can take pictures during combat. So when all those bright colored projectiles are flying all around the screen and you want to get a sick action shot, you're good to go with the photo mode. Hopefully this gets more people who either haven't gotten the game yet or picked it up when it came out and just didn't really like the whole roguelite thing because they couldn't stop it, a reason to come back and give it another shot. Because out of all the first-party PlayStation exclusives released this year, honestly, as good as Ratchet & Clank is, as good as Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut is, I think the award for my favorite is definitely going to go to Returnal. I'm still making my way through Deathloop, so that could overtake it, but Returnal, it had all of these awesome elements. It really felt like a Prometheus game or an Alien Covenant game. It just had all of these different horror movie elements that I want to see in a Sony first-party game. You know, it went deeper into horror than most of their other games go. Even Days Gone, an open-world zombie game at literally the end of the world, never really strayed too far into totally, you know, straight-up horror. So it was nice to see in something like Returnal. And yeah, this game goes on sale all the time. I've seen it for 30 bucks, as low as that. Honestly, I've seen it used for as low as 20. So if you haven't checked it out and the whole roguelite system was turning you off from it, now's the time to definitely check it out. One of the biggest rumors we've had to go on this year about new games coming out towards the end of the year is this trilogy of older PS2 era GTA games. We're getting GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas all in one package for $60, and it's more of a remaster than the leaks led us to believe. I remember when these remasters leaked, I said I wanted them to look like how I remembered these games looking back when I was a kid playing them, and now that I've seen the trailer, they look like that, but honestly, maybe even a little bit better. So the biggest difference here is that they are keeping the blocky PS2-like look in the game, but they're turning the main characters for all three games sort of into action figures. They're cleaning up their facial textures, they're cleaning up their outfits, but they're keeping that blocky look that makes makes them look a lot like the art you see on the GTA covers and the loading screens. That 2D, cartoony, like comic booky look totally translates super well into this new art style. And they also definitely improved the lighting and the textures. I saw a lot of people complaining, saying that it doesn't look that much better, but there's a video I found on YouTube which shows you direct comparisons from the trailer we got for this new re-release and the original game, and it does look a ton better. It's doing exactly what I wanted it to, which is, again, make it look like how we all remember it looking. It's just like your memory coming back to life all these years later after you played like amazing looking games like Bloodborne or Ghost of Tsushima. Out of the three, I'm most excited to check out GTA 3 and GTA Vice City. I played San Andreas a lot, I just never really got into the story. I get all the jokes and memes that came out of that game, and I've seen all the important cutscenes on YouTube, but for me personally, that gritty New York story you get in 3, and then the Miami story voiced by Ray Liotta you get in Vice City, that is just like exactly what I've always wanted them to go back to in GTA. I know we kind of got it in GTA 5 with Michael's story, but that was more like Heat, whereas Vice City is more like Miami Vice or Goodfellas, and that's definitely my kind of mobster movie. So hopefully if people respond well to buying one of these games individually, right? Like if more people buy Vice City individually than GTA 3 or San Andreas remaster, then Rockstar might say, hey, we should do a story set in Vice City again. Because the biggest rumor we've heard at this point about GTA 6 is that if it has a single player campaign at all, it's probably going to be set again in Liberty City, which, yeah, it will be cool to play a one-to-one version of New York City that Rockstar creates. But we've had so many games set in Liberty City. We've had GTA 3, we've had Liberty City stories on the PSP and PS2, we've had Chinatown Wars, we've had GTA 4. I mean, San Andreas, we just got remade essentially in GTA 5 from GTA San Andreas. So I think GTA Vice City is the way to go for GTA 6. So as we rapidly approach the end of October, it's time to talk about the PS Plus games for November. Now, the past couple months, Sony has actually been pretty late on announcing what games are coming to PS Plus, but thankfully every month they leak a few days early, and just like every other month, we have the leaked games for November. The first game we're getting is First Class Trouble. This one actually showed off at that third-party state of play they just did, which honestly, guys, I'm gonna be real, was a little underwhelming. This game actually looks pretty fun though. It looks like it's kind of taking a riff on Among Us. It's set on a spaceship. You have 6 players, 4 of which are trying to take down the rogue AI on the ship, and then there's 2 people called Paranoids who have to lie and cheat to stop them. It sounds, again, like Among Us, and it's a good game to get if you're into multiplayer gaming. But again, like I always say, at least add it to your account, because you never know when you're gonna have some friends over and you're gonna need a co-op game to play together. The next game you're gonna get is Knockout City, which is the multiplayer dodgeball game that I'm pretty sure EA published. Now, when this was announced, everyone kind of wrote it off immediately as kind of goofy, and it had Fortnite graphics, which didn't help at all. But then it came out and it got really good reviews, and a lot of people who were playing it are having a lot of fun with it. I'm sure being on PS Plus will also boost the player base as well. So if you want a good multiplayer game that has online combat that's not necessarily too violent, because you know it's dodgeball, this is probably one you should definitely check out. Now, this third option you're gonna have is Made for Me. I'm so excited this is coming to PS Plus. It's Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. Now, this is kind of like a remastered version of Kingdoms of Amalur, which is an open world fantasy RPG that came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360, and it is like criminally underplayed. It's got a huge open world, it's got different classes you can play as that all change up the combat. Like when you change weapons, right, you want to use these blades that are sort of like the Blades of Chaos from God of War. That gives you a whole new skill tree and completely changes up your moveset. And the same things happen if you move to like a sword and shield combo, X, Y, and Z, you guys get what I'm saying. Now, this remaster, to be honest, was more of a way to get this game running on modern consoles more than a full-on remaster. It doesn't really look like a next-gen game, but the gameplay itself is so much fun, and there's actually new content that they've added onto this old game. So if you've never played Kingdoms of Amalur, you should definitely check out this version of it. Please take a second and add this one to your account, because I really want a sequel to it. And then finally, this one is also an incredible option for you PSVR users. You're getting The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. Now, I have an Oculus Quest 2, and this is the first game I downloaded on it. It is one of the best VR games I've ever played. So it takes place in the Walking Dead universe's fictional version of New Orleans, and you basically play as a survivor who can kind of pick between different factions who are currently in a civil war for that area of town. It's really cool because you can kind of make choices as you go along through each level. I know right at the beginning, a lady will be like, oh, can you go in this house and get these pills that I left in there? There's zombies in there. It would really help me out if you killed them. So you can go get these pills, and then you can give her the pills, and then after she pays you, you can kill her and then take the pills back and use them for yourself. love. You can be a good guy, a bad guy. There's tons of choice and consequences. It has this like comic book style look to it that makes it fit into the comic book world of The Walking Dead instead of the TV show. The combat is really fun. There's guns, there's like upgradable melee weapons. You can of course get Negan's bat. Like this game is full featured. It feels like a full-on real VR game. So if you've never heard of it, you should check it out and at the very least add it to your account, because you never know. Even if you don't have a PSVR 1 right now, you could get a PSVR 2 down the line and this game will sing on it. I think it's going to be great. We're still waiting for the official announcement, and the cool thing is we're actually supposedly getting 3 more extra VR games this month on top of these that already leaked. So this is going to be a really good month for PS Plus, and just remember, before October ends, make sure you go get the October games and add them to your account because you don't want to miss them. And then the final news story I have for you guys today is a small update to the PSN software that's going to add a new music option for when you're playing games. Apple Music, which is the biggest competitor to Spotify, honestly I think Apple Music might be bigger than Spotify at this point, has finally been added to the PS5. And the cool thing about that is that this is the first time Apple Music is coming to a game console. And PlayStation, I think, has the best implementation of these music apps built into its software already. So all you have to do to use this is once you're logged in, if you're in a game, you can pull up the control center and there's a little music charm at the bottom. You click the music charm and it brings up a little switcher while you're playing a game over your game. So you can change the volume of Apple Music or Spotify. And I know it seems like a small update, but Apple Music is the service I use because you can get lossless audio through them. And I have a lot of Apple products. I have an iPhone, I have an iPad Pro, I have a MacBook. So having Apple Music on all those devices makes them sync really easily. So the more consoles that get Apple Music, the more likely I am to play that console. Because when I'm playing Destiny 2 or an online game or even doing side quests in Far Cry 6, I love playing my own music over the game. So now that I can pull up my favorite playlists from Apple Music without transferring them over to Spotify, I think the PS5 is still going to reign as my most used console. Anyway guys, that's all the PlayStation news I have for you today. Make sure you let me know what you think down in the comments below, and remember to subscribe and set your notifications to all if you haven't already. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.